for the next 15 years.
In 1990, after 2 successful series of short stories, it was decided to film Agatha's first Poirot novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. It was set 2 decades earlier than the other episodes, at the end of the First World War.
I realised we were coming up to the 100th anniversary of Agatha's birth. So I said to ITV, well, really, we should mark that in a special way. Why don't we make the very first story she wrote about Poirot, of how he came to England and how he became a detective here?
Monsieur Poirot!
It is indeed mon ami Hastings.
I was so pleased when they did the first story, because it was when they did the first story I thought, gosh, I wonder how many of these we can do. If we've done the beginning, can we ever do the end?
We had to obviously make adjustments to the costumes and stuff, and put on a bit more makeup to look a bit younger.
You must come to tea. Now that is the proper English expression, no?
From then, Agatha's novels were screened in 2-hour-long episodes. Among them, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd and The ABC Murders.
I prefer the longer ones, the novels, because I think it gave her as a novelist a bit more time to develop the characters.
Well, I think The ABC Murders is one of Agatha's very best books, and I think our adaptation of it turned out very well as well.
Ah, the fingerprints, yes. They are useful. I put that in to please you, Hastings.
You mean it wasn't true?
Not in the least, mon ami.
Good Lord.
It had a much stronger story that moved on all the time because it was a serial killer, and because the murderer was always one step ahead of Poirot. It was very different to all the others.
The move from the short stories to the longer stories I enjoyed very, very much, because it gave me a chance to really get my teeth into a long story. And that's when we started lifting those great big summing up moments from the end of the novels, which are not in the short stories so much, and gave Poirot a chance for his piece of theatre.
Voila.
It's a doll.
Yes, a doll. Except this doll is an important witness to the truth of who killed Madame Clapperton.
Readers and viewers loved the denouement. But while the summing up scenes worked well in Agatha's novels, making them flow on screen was problematic for writers.
As a sort of writing challenge, I seem to remember spending much more time fretting about how on earth the killer could have got from the living room to the bathroom and back into the garden in time to drop a knife behind the rhododendrons than to worry about their motivation or their personal torment or whatever.
He doesn't come in and say, now I have you all together, it was you. Oh, God, no. No, Poirot, because he's so vain, it suddenly becomes the star performer.
By killing 4 people, our murderer hoped to disguise the one murder with the real motive, that of your brother, Sir Carmichael Clark.
Well, what is hard is making them interesting visually. And so you had to do a series of flashbacks, minute flashbacks, intercut with him saying all this, because they do get a little tedious.
I remember we had lots of laughs because Hugh Fraser would always say, I'm going to come into the summing up with my leaning board.
But David's passion for perfection didn't always win fans.
One director did describe working with me as Poirot as the next thing to Japanese torture. He says, Suchet never stops. It's drip, drip, drip.
Coming up after the break, it's curtains for Poirot. Christie pens her most puzzling whodunit, the death of the great detective.